because you have such a strict schedule and you have so many different disciplinary factors that go into it that I never thought that I would be able to do any of this.
Today's guest is Kylie Martin, better known online as Kylie Monster BMX, a rising voice in the world of BMX racing and action sports. From high-speed racetracks to social media, she shares not just the thrill of competition, but the real journey behind it, the discipline, setbacks, and determination it takes to keep showing up when the ride gets tough. Kylie invites thousands of followers into her world, documenting her lifestyle, racing competitions, personal challenges, and the mindset required to push past fear and self-doubt. Today, we will be discussing the trials she had faced, the victories she has earned, and the mindset that keeps her moving forward both on and off the track. Welcome to Become the Victor, where we don't just talk about what someone went through, we talk about who they became because of it. Please welcome Kylie Martin.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Kylie Martin. Obviously, Victor did a great job at introducing me, though, so you guys already know.
I love it. I love it. So for anyone meeting you for the first time, what was your upbringing like? What is your story?
So basically, growing up, my parents had me very young. I want to say they were 20 and 21 when they had me. So as I was growing up, it was like they were growing up with me. So I remember always being the little kid at all of these different family functions. And obviously, it didn't matter that I was a girl. All of my uncles were so like intense with me. Like there would be random points throughout family gatherings where they were like, Nerf gun fight, and everyone would have to go running out to go find Nerf guns just to come back to come and like fight each other with them. I remember one time they like held me captive inside of this like little treasure box because they were like, "No, you're our hostage." Like we would play banks and robbers, things like that. Like we were just very intense and very active and things. And another thing that we always had grown up doing was going out and riding dirt bikes and going out and riding trails and things like that. So when it finally came time for me to decide what sport I wanted to do when I was around, I think like 10, it was obviously a no-brainer for me. Like as soon as I could walk, I was thrown on a dirt bike, but dirt biking was never really what I wanted to do. It was more of what everyone else liked to do. So when I found BMX, I was like, this is a great happy medium. Like it's something that's mine, but something that everyone's also going to be able to have interest in. So that was kind of just the upbringing that I had, was always being very active. I had rode horses for a while. It wasn't really a fit for me. I had, like I said, tried dirt biking for a little bit when I was younger, just out of fun. Wasn't really for me. Did basketball for a little bit. Wasn't my vibe. It just wasn't intense enough, wasn't enough action going on. So I needed something that was going to be a little bit more of a kind of disciplinary thing for me and also keep me busy and keep me occupied. And that's where BMX was great because it's year round. You kind of never really stop when you're riding.
Wow, that is so cool. So you actually got introduced to BMX at the age of 10, and it sounds like you just love like the thrill of it.
Yeah, exactly. Anything on two wheels, even when we go on ride outs, when I'm riding freestyle, when I'm racing, anything where I'm on two wheels and it's just you're kind of leading it and directing it yourself. Because realistically, no one can tell you what to do when you're on a bike. Like it is you, the bars, and the two wheels, and you're the one that's managing everything. You kind of dictate exactly what it is that you're doing, where you're going, and if your coach is yelling at you, no, do this, you don't have to do that because you're the one controlling it, which is something that I loved because it was a very individualistic sport, but you were still able to kind of build a team around it and build a family around it, but still be your own person at the end of the day. I never liked team sports because I feel like certain players would get highlighted more than others, or you could kind of just get lost in the chaos or always be the center of attention. And I never wanted that. I wanted it to just be, I am who I am. And if people don't like that or they don't want to pay attention to that, they don't have to. There's plenty of other riders on the track. But if people want to pay attention to me, I knew that I was going to be entertaining them and making it a personable experience for them.
That is really cool. Do you have any family that was also in BMX where you were kind of introduced to that as well, or were you just how did all of
No.
that kind of come into play?
So we had a family friend at the time who was, their son had just started it and he was way younger than I was. Like I would kind of babysit him. And they were like, "Oh, like come out and watch him, like whatever." And so we had gone out there. I wasn't really into it the first time that we went, and then after just kind of sitting on it for a little bit more and probably like a week later, I remember telling my parents like, "Oh, like maybe I want to like ride a bike. Like maybe that's something that I want to do." So my uncle worked at a bike shop and he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll just go ahead. We'll fix up this little old blue bike that you had. I think it was a Haro. Super old, had like backward brakes, which is horrible for riding on a BMX track." And he fixed it up for us, and I just remember going to the track and I went down the hill, ate crap the first time. It was no like, oh yeah, I was in love at first sight. Like, no, I beefed it so hard, like probably two or three times. But then by the fourth time and fifth time, I started figuring it out. And by the end of the night, I just remember telling my parents, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I want to say about probably a week later, we went and bought an actual race frame. And that ended up just being my life after that. I got sponsored shortly after we had gotten that bike by my first team, and then just things continuously progressed.
Wow. Have you ever gotten injured? I know you mentioned you fell off the bike here the first time. You kind of learn trial and error kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever like broken any bones or gotten injured like doing what it is you do?
So I have this weird thing when I fall, I don't like going to the hospital unless it's like an absolute need. So there's a lot of physical therapy that I have kind of just racked up at this point. I took a really bad spill in 2019, and what had happened basically is the chain had popped off, and when the chain pops off, your bike locks up. So with the bike locking up, I got thrown over the bars in the middle of this like whoop section.
Oh,
So
wow.
I just remember my bike locking up and me going over the bars. And something I should have mentioned is when you're riding BMX, once you get to a certain point, you clip into the bike. So then you're attached to the bike because it helps you with pedaling, it helps you with gate starts, it just helps your feet kind of stay attached. So it's one less thing you have to think about. So I was clipped in, and as I was going over the bars, my bike was following me. And I just remember going head first. I had to get 5 stitches in my chin. I ended up having like a permanent like click in my hip, basically. So basically, how a normal hip goes like side to side, mine goes the opposite way now, which is a little
Wow.
weird. So I have a slight little limp when I walk sometimes, just depending if it's cold. Um, but yeah, and then like both my wrists will click and things like that just from casing jumps, like coming up too short on them too many times. But it's all part of it. So there's obviously going to be injuries. I would say that some of the more traumatic ones, though, are the ones that don't really leave you hurt, but just kind of like spook you. Like when you're falling from like a high distance, which I've done, or you're kind of just lawn darting, or you lose control of it completely and you're going into another rider at a fast speed. Those don't usually really hurt you sometimes, but they more of just spook you and leave like a mental toll on you. So it hurts in that sense.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up. During moments like that, like you said, how you kind of get spooked. How do you actually like overcome those like psychological or mental barriers, that come afterward?
Yeah, it's rough. I'm not gonna lie. And it's weird because you can't even say just off the bat, like, okay, like I'm gonna make peace with it. I'm gonna start working through it. Because there are times that it won't even hit you until a week, a month later, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I went through that. For me, I remember the first time I ever got knocked out, it was one of like the scariest feelings of my life. And I just remember telling my parents, like, I'm never gonna put myself in a position to do that again. Even though the crash wasn't my fault, because I got knocked out on that hit where I ended up having to get the 5 stitches. I
Wow.
was knocked out for like 2 minutes. And I just remember like dozing out and then coming back and then just like more and more people around me every time because I wasn't staying conscious while I was out. Like I would go out and then come back, go out and come back. And that went on about 2 or 3 times before I was finally able to like stay awake. So I think for that, it was one of those things where I instantly knew, like, no, I never want that to happen again. And I just kind of had it in my head, like, I'm not going to put myself in that position. Like, I'm not going to do that. But then there was other times where I had fallen from, I want to say like 10, 20 feet up in the air, had fallen down off of a jump and landed head first at the bottom of this asphalt turn. And I remember when that happened, I was like hyperventilating because I do this thing where I try and like move my hands, move your feet so you know you're not paralyzed. Because if you land a certain way, anything can go wrong with your back.
Of course.
So I remember trying to move and I was in so much shock that I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't move, like I'm paralyzed, I'm never gonna be able to walk, like all these things going through my head. So obviously I'm like hyperventilating at this point, freaking out in my helmet. So I pass out, come back, end up writing it off, and I'm fine for the next like week. Like I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, oh yeah, I crashed, it happened, whatever. Well, that crash ended up almost being the reason why I quit BMX because it was just slowly coming in as what my therapist had said was symptoms of PTSD. Because it was getting to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night just in sweats or like screaming, just freaking out in the middle of the night. and I wouldn't be able to overcome it. Or I'd be doing schoolwork because I was still in high school at the time. So I'd be doing like my AP classes, things like that. And I just couldn't get it out of my head, the feeling like I had like fallen. Like, you know, when you're falling asleep and you like instantly jump awake?
Yeah.
I was getting feelings like that throughout the middle of the day. So like as I was eating lunch or things like that, it just felt like I was kind of out of control. And that was something that was really weird because it had never happened to me. With even with my crash where I had, like I said, gotten the 5 stitches, nothing like that had ever happened. So I think for that, it just depends on the person, and each person has to be able to navigate it themselves. For me, I'm always big on you have to take care of your psychological and your mentals before you can do anything else, because you'll end up having these subconscious barriers in your head that prohibit you from doing any other growth in your sport. So until you can get that fixed, you can't really go anywhere, which is why I'm such a huge advocator on mental health and seeing a therapist if you need to. It doesn't make you weak. And something that I struggled with going into it is that I waited till the very last minute to go see a therapist just because I was like, no, you know, I can get through it. Because it wasn't really advertised in the athlete world. It wasn't really brought up as a way of being like, oh no, like if you have issues, if you're struggling, go and talk to someone. That was never really a thing. It was just show up the next week to practice and write it off, like get over it.
Yeah.
So once I finally went through that, I started advocating for the fact of, okay, that was a crazy fall. Give yourself a second, give yourself a beat, take a week off, do what you have to do to really figure out inside of yourself, am I okay or is there a bigger issue? Because it just trickles. And when you keep going and you stay on that autopilot, it kind of just screws you over in the long run.
Yeah, that is powerful. Right. I'm curious as well when you mentioned how, you kind of waited the last minute for your mental health journey. And I want to talk about your mental health journey as well, because I know you're a mental health advocate. Is when you say you waited till the last minute, what do you mean by that? Like, was there something that kind of transpired or kind of happened where, like, was there anything traumatic behind it? Or, like, what do you mean by last minute?
Yeah, so we ended up, I had that crash, and then I want to say about 2 weeks later, we ended up going to Utah for a national. And I'd gone there and I ended up just crashing again. And it wasn't as bad at all, but I crashed 2 days in a row, which is very unlike me when it's not like directly caused by me. Because throughout my season, I'd obviously been wrecked out a lot. There were other crashes that I was a part of that weren't really directly because of me. Well, these two crashes were directly because of me. Like they were mess ups that I had made, just me being sloppy, careless. And it ended up leaving me in the back of the truck, like in the back seat, just crying for almost the whole drive home from Utah, just saying I was done racing, I was over it. And around that time, I want to say that's when I just wanted to stop with bikes altogether because I was doing freestyle, I was doing racing, I was very active, I was in the gym doing CrossFit. Like I was doing everything I could to be as proactive as possible to becoming like the next level, like a champion. And at that point, I just remember breaking down and saying, like, I don't want to do anything anymore. Like, nothing makes me happy. Like, I don't want to go out with my friends. I don't want to go ride my bike. I don't even want to go to the track to go see all my friends and family. Like, I literally just want to stay in my room or stay at home and I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to do anything. Like, it got to the point where I didn't want to eat. Like, all I wanted to do was just stay in my room and just do anything but everything, if that makes sense. So, at that point, I think I finally had just come to the realization after feeling miserable and just in this depression that I remember sitting on the couch and telling my parents, like, look, I can't help myself anymore, and I've tried to just tough it out and try to read all the different informationals about what to do with PTSD and things like that, which I didn't even know it was PTSD at the time. Just that's what had kind of been aligning with what I had been looking up with what I was dealing with. So
Yeah.
when the therapist confirmed that, I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. Google doesn't always lie. Um, but I remember sitting down and telling my parents, like, look, like I feel depressed. I feel like I can't help myself, and I feel like if I don't do something right now or within the next like couple days, like I don't know where it's gonna go and I really don't want to find out. So whatever we can do to start getting in the process of seeing a therapist, talking to someone who's been through something traumatic, things like that, that's when I finally kind of made that step in that direction because I didn't know where it was gonna go and I like I said didn't want to find out and I didn't want to roll those dice and become part of anything that could be unforgivable or unreversible.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like your parents are really, really big part of your support system, your support group. How much of an impact have your parents had just within your life, like in terms of, growing up and BMX, injuries, mental health, everything?
Um, I would say that they've kind of been on a roller coaster with it all, to be honest. I mean, they support me with every single thing that we do, but they're hard on me, but not hard on me, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of times where growing up, I wouldn't want to go to the gym. And they would tell me, like, well, we're paying for you to go to the gym, so you have to go to the gym. So I remember being pissed at like 14, 15, because I'm like, I don't want to go to CrossFit. Like, I would rather go out with my friends, or like, I want to eat like crap today. Like, I want to go eat fast food. I don't want to have to be eating clean and things like that, or to get an earful if I didn't. So I remember times like that would really annoy me with them. But at the same point, how much that they cared and how much emotion that I could hear in their voices in the videos when I listened back to them. And even now, there's some videos that'll catch me off guard because my mom is the loudest one that you will ever hear in the bleachers. Like, it doesn't matter where it is. We were in Scotland and she was the only voice I heard and thousands of people in the place. I was just like, this lady's crazy. Like, I don't know her, guys. Like, she's a stalker. I'm sorry.
That's cute.
But she's the loudest one. So listening back to any videos, like whenever I can hear her, it trips me out because you can definitely tell like she's just as invested as I am in it. And obviously she's not the one on the track, but she's the one who is supporting me on the track. And yeah, just hearing whenever they hurt, like whenever like I would crash or I would be hurt and be like moping around the house because I was having to limp around or I couldn't open up things because my arm was messed up, things like that. Just seeing how like much that they empathize with me and how much that they felt bad, but like wouldn't tell me directly because we're a very tough love family. Like we don't really say like how we feel in our family. It's just very like actions, you know? Like you know those memes about like, yeah, I told my dad that I liked this book in April and he bought me it for Christmas. Like there's things like that's literally my dad. So we're not like an emotional family like that. But when it comes to showing up for each other when it matters, we'll show up. So every one of those videos always reminded me of that. And just seeing them literally travel everywhere with me and sacrifice so much of what they have just for me meant a lot. So it's kind of been like my mission to try and give that back to them as I've progressed with doing everything that I'm doing now. Show them that like there was a purpose to it and that it was worth it.
That is really, really cool. You have like a credible story. I know I told you this before we clicked record. And back to your BMX journey, were there ever moments where you maybe doubted, like, should you? I know you mentioned you almost gave up earlier. During those moments where you almost quit and kind of gave up and maybe doubted the journey ahead, what kind of helped you kind of push through moments like that? I know you're spiritual as well, and like what kind of helped you along that process?
Yeah, so when I went through like the really difficult times with just knowing if I was not knowing, I guess would be the word to say, the uncertainty of not knowing where my future really lied, I would sit there and I would pray a lot, especially while I was going through therapy. There would be moments where I was driving home that I would have to literally just pull over and pray because I was losing my mind after like that session. So there were moments like that where definitely God got it. But then there were other moments where I would kind of just open up my Instagram and I would look at all of the people who had supported me and who were there for me. And going through my camera roll was another big thing. Just looking through all the different races, seeing, okay, like there's all of these little girls who are looking up to me. There's all these little boys who are looking up to me. There's all of these even older people who are looking up to me, who are saying that like I'm making waves and things like that. And at first I used to look at all of those things as a lot of pressure and a lot of extra stressors that I never really wanted. But as time went on, I learned to kind of reframe it in my head to show me like, no, like they're all supporting you by choice. Like no one's forcing them. No one's gonna be mad at you if you underperform or anything like that because at the end of the day, they're not being forced to. They choose to hit that follow button. They choose to say hello, to take a photo with you at races. Things like that definitely kept me going in the times where I was like, I want to be done. But above all, I think looking back at all of my progress and looking back to little 10-year-old Kylie as I was 16, 17, even when I was like 14 or 15, just looking back at like this dorky little kid with these glasses and like this oversized gear because she had no idea what she was doing and seeing how far that I had come, it made all of those things leading up to it like, so what if that race went bad? So what if I got last in that main event? I was in a main event at a national that I never thought would be possible at 10 years old.
Wow.
So looking at things like that, it just kind of motivated me and inspired me. And obviously the haters are always going to keep you going because you want to prove them wrong. You want to show, okay, like I'm not focusing on this because of you, but I know that you're watching. So when I do this, it's going to make that even sweeter and like the cherry on top of everything. Like I'm cool with just having the cake, but having the cherry on top of the cake, that is where it's at. I'm telling you. When you can see that like they viewed your story after you've done something incredible, you're just like, yeah, how's that? So I think that was definitely something too that would keep me going. Like, prove them wrong. That was one of my favorite sayings. Like, doesn't matter, prove them wrong. You don't think you can do it? Prove them wrong. My gym coach would say that all the time. And I would show up, I would complain. I complained for probably 2 years, every single session I did with him. I was like, I don't want to do this today. This isn't what I showed up for. I just want to go ride my bike. And he'd be like, I don't care. And then it would always be like, whenever I'd come back to talk about different race results, he'd always say, okay, well, time to prove him wrong and things like that. So he definitely changed a lot of the outlook that I have on life too.
Wow, that is incredible. So I want to talk about your competitions. Like that is to me so cool. Like you got into it at 10 years old. You started competing. It sounds like around the age of 14, roughly. What is it like? Can you reflect back off of maybe the first moment or the first moments when you barely began to compete and kind of reflect back like your emotions or your thought process during that moment? Like, were you scared? Were you confident? Were you excited?
So there's different levels of competition. So
Okay.
there's local levels, which is just like within this, within like the area to you, so like an hour, within an hour to you. Then
Okay.
there's state races, which are all over California. Then there would be Gold Cup, which are all within California, Arizona, and Nevada. I
Wow.
never did Gold Cup. I didn't believe in that. I just went straight to nationals. And then there was nationals, which should be all over the nation. So
Wow.
when we did nationals, we'd primarily stay on West Coast, and then we would wait until the end of the year to go to Oklahoma, which was the grand finale. They'd call it the Grands. So Grands and Race of Champions. So I want to say the first time I ever raced, I was an intermediate at the national level. And I remember everyone saying, like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, just don't get last. As long as you don't get last, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I won't get last. Like, I go to state races and I don't get last. Like, I'm good. I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I showed up. I was cool as a cucumber. I was just waiting. I was like, yeah, just don't get last. Don't get last. Don't get last. What did I do? I got last.
Oh,
I got blown out. So that definitely sucked. But I think going into it the next time, it had made me a little bit more calm because I was like, okay, I know what to expect now. I'm good. And so I finally had started making it further than obviously getting last, which was a great because you have different sections. You have rounds, and then depending how many riders, you'll have quarters, semis, things like that. So obviously, to get out of motos is always the goal. You never want to get stuck in motos because that's embarrassing at this point. So I'm being told this by everyone. So I'm like, okay, just make it out of motos, make it out of motos. All weekend long, I did not make it out of motos, which sucked. But I think that at that point, I was just excited at the fact that I was finally able to go to the nationals because that's where I was told, like, oh, yeah, all the cool kids go to nationals. Like, you know that you're good once you go to nationals. So I was like, yeah, I want to go to nationals. I want to do that. So we went and I got blown out. I was not ready. But as time went on, I definitely got more comfortable. And there's always that type of nerves right before you go up. I mean, I think the worst that I ever had it was when I was 15, because at 15, you race 15 to 16-year-old girls. And oh my gosh, girls at that age are ruthless. They're brutal. Like you look at their man funny and they want to kill you on the track. And luckily, I stayed out of the drama for a lot of the part. But it would suck because if you were next to a girl that they had drama with in the gate, you're gonna get cut off, like, and you're gonna fall really hard fast out of the gate, which would suck. So there is definitely a lot of things behind the scenes going on there that would make me really, really nervous because you never want to get hurt. If you get hurt, it could ruin your whole season. You could be out. You could literally have to stop doing everything that you're doing. And at this point, there are dances going on, there's school events going on. There's different photos, different media things. So you don't want to be all showing up like scraped up and broken bones and everything. So that definitely worried me a lot. And I was really nervous for that whole experience of 15, 16. But I would say it still throughout that whole process taught me a lot of different things that I now am able to take into new classes and new age groups when it comes to racing, which was great. But yeah, you'll never get over just that nervousness of getting in the gate. And it's a good nervous. It's like an anticipation, like you're just waiting. Like you're like a kid on Christmas morning. Like you're excited to go, but like you're nervous. Like, did he bring the right gift? Is what I want gonna be under the tree? Did I get coal? Like you're worrying about those types of things. So I think that's the best way to describe it, would just be you're kind of anxious and nervous in a way, but it's an excited anxious and nervousness.
Yeah, that is so, so true. I played wheelchair soccer, which is power soccer, so I can definitely anticipate like going into nationals and feeling those emotions. It's so, so true when you're in a very competitive sport. When competing, have was there ever a moment that's like a complete highlight, from all of your training and all the years you put in, all the work you put in behind the scenes? Was there ever a moment where you're like, this is what I worked so hard for?
Um, that one's hard. There's been a couple times where I've been like, okay, this is great, like I'm doing amazing. But there's also, for me, a lot of that I'm very hard on myself. So a lot of that, every single time that I'm like very proud of something, it's quickly shadowed by something else that I could have done better, if that makes sense. Which is something that I'm working on, not being so hard on myself. But I would say one of the most distinct moments that stands out to me would be when our track operator had passed away, which was, I want to say it was 2023 now. It was a while, like it feels like a while ago. 2023 or 2024. I want to say it was 2023 though.
Mhm.
No, it was 2024. I take that back. 2024. He had, I honestly don't know. It was one of those 2 years, I think. But anyways, he had passed away, and I just remember there being a lot of uncertainty in the air of just what was going to happen to the track, what was going to happen to all of us kids who were racing and things like that at his track and underneath like his type of reign, because he was the best track operator that you could ask for. He was such a great guy.
Right.
So I think that for all of us, we were all kind of lost while we were training and just we were grieving, going through the processes. His funeral was going on. There was the different like celebrations of life. Like it was just everywhere that you looked, there was constant reminders. And obviously showing up to his track because it had been shut down and then reopened was a lot. It was a lot to walk in, and you saw people who had signed the board as because there was a board walking in where you would kind of like memorialize him and say your favorite memory, things like that. So that sucked walking into every single training session. And that left a lot of the local kids like in doubt, I think, of how we were going to do. And we had just known that every lap while we were there was for him. So when I had made the main event at the Grands for that biggest, it's the biggest race on earth is what they call it, because it's where
Mhm.
everyone from all these different nations come in, everyone from these different places all over the world come in to just race. And I remember making it out of motos and being happy because I had one of the stacked racks, and then making it out of quarters and then semis. And then in the semi, I remember everyone blowing up like right around me. And I was like, oh no, like I'm gonna go down, like I'm so screwed. And I ended up writing it out and making it to the main event. And I just remember that moment being one of like the biggest deals of my life. I just remember being like, okay, like we did that. We did that for him. And his favorite number was 5. And I knew when I loaded up in the gate because I it was semi and they assign you your gates, and I got gate number 5. I was like, okay, like he's with me right now. Like everyone from our home track had gotten gate 5 going into their semi. So we
Wow.
all kind of took that as a sign like, okay, like he's with us, and we all ended up making it. So I think that that was definitely like a okay, I made it moment. But I mean, you have a lot of those moments when you're riding. My last race that I had done as an official like BMX racer, I switched over to flats because I told everyone that I take the sport too seriously and I was too hard on myself to the point where it wasn't enjoyable. So I remember putting on flats because flats are kind of not like a white flag, but it's kind of like people don't expect you to do anything on flats because you're clipped in. And so you're at a huge disadvantage when you ride flats. And the last race that I did, I put myself on flats because I was like, why not make things interesting? It's the last time I'm going to be on a track for a while. So I remember riding on flats and making it to the main event on that, which everyone thought was impossible. Like as I got there, everyone was like, she's just throwing it away today. Like she's literally just throwing away her entry fee. She shouldn't be on the track. She's not going to make the main. There's a lot of doubt going on, so to make the main on that one was a huge deal. And I ended up getting crashed into in the main event, so that sucked. But I remember everyone kind of cheering for me and just the stands going crazy. So that was definitely like a okay, I made it. And everyone knew it was my last race. So that one felt like a proper send off and I could feel all the love. And then everyone coming up after to say how proud they were of me and just say goodbye to me, that meant a lot too. So that was definitely probably one of the other bigger moments of my career.
Wow. When you talked
Yeah.
about grief, when you talk about grief within this portion of your journey, for someone listening who is maybe competing as well, like as such as yourself, like what advice can you offer to them who may be navigating grief but still have to stay committed to their prior commitments?
It's hard. I mean, grief's one of those things like I still go through it today. It's and it'll hit you at random times, it'll hit you at really inconvenient times. There will be times where I'm at a shoot and I think of my grandpa who just passed away and it sucks because it definitely comes in waves. There will be days where you wake up and someone who's been gone for 10 years, you just wake up and you're like, "Oh my God, I just want to hug for them right now." But I think that the number one thing that I've ever been told or heard is they wouldn't want you to be sad. When they were here, they never wanted you to be sad. They were the reason that they were cheering you up, keeping you happy, things like that. So I think it's important to remember that. And yes, you can miss them, and that is completely fine and valid, and you are completely in right to miss them. But keep in mind too, they wouldn't want you grieving over them to hold you back. They wouldn't want it to distract you. They wouldn't want it to hurt you. They wouldn't want you to be sad about it. They would want you to be happy. And the fact that you're even thinking about them, the way that I look at it is like they're visiting you. When you wake up randomly and you're missing them, or something happens while you're training, studying, whatever, and it pops into your head, to me, that's them visiting you and it's them letting you know, like, hey, I'm here. I'm thinking of you. I'm watching you, things like that. So, it's definitely grief's a bitch. I don't know if I can curse on here,
No,
sorry.
you're good. No, you're good.
um grief sucks though, for sure. It's unfortunate and as much as I hate to say it, it doesn't usually get easier, but it's something that you learn to deal with and learn to kind of restructure in your brain to make it easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of just all about the way that you frame it and your perspective on it cuz the scenery won't change, but how you look at it can, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That was beautifully said. I like that. The scenery will change by how you perceive it. I like how you said that. I never heard that before. Now
Yeah.
I'm curious as well. So now you did BMX, you competed at arguably the highest levels. How did you begin incorporating all of this into like social media? Like how has social media as well like played a factor into your life?
So this is one of my favorite questions and something that a lot of people usually go like, what? When I say it. So my parents started my social media account right when I started doing BMX. So I want to say I was 10 or 11 by the time that they started my social media account. And they helped me run it all the way up until I was about 13. And then once I turned 13, it kind of just got passed over to me. So for the past 7 years, I've been the one that's been creating the content. And yeah, like I get feedback and help a little bit on it and advice, but I would say in the more recent years, all of the content that's been produced has been primarily done by me. Like once I was able to drive, I was the one that started going and taking photos at different places. It would be me and a tripod, and that would be what primarily all of my Instagram was made out of. And then when I would go to the track, I would have friends film or my dad film and things like that. But yeah, just I don't know. I think that social media right now in this day and age is something so important. And as much as we all hate it, and as much as people can claim that they hate it, at least, you're on it. And if you're on it and you're scrolling and you're watching these other people do things, why would you not put yourself out there? Because no one is doing exactly what you're doing. Like, yeah, plenty of girls BMX ride, but plenty of girls aren't showing the process to BMX riding. Plenty of girls aren't showing that they can be a model and be in school and do all of these other little side quests on top of riding and being an athlete and having a social life. So I think it's important to highlight that, especially for the younger generations coming up, because if they're only seeing this finite thing, like for me, example, I had only seen girls consume their entire life with BMX riding. So that's all that I thought that you were able to do because you have such a strict schedule and you have so many different disciplinary factors that go into it that I never thought that I would be able to do any of this. So now that I am like, yeah, it gets hectic. Yeah, it's a busy schedule and it's a busy life, but you're blessed to be able to have all of that busyness going on and you're blessed to be able to experience all of it. So if my content can help anyone see that at all, that you can have a busy schedule, but you can still be active and focus on the areas that you want to focus on, then why would you not? Especially when it comes to promoting yourself and getting sponsorships, because at the end of the day, these sponsors are going to help you, whether it's bring in BMX if that's what your discipline is, or if it's going ahead and getting a clothing brand so you don't have to pay for clothes as much. If it's getting a drink brand, like for No Cap, No Cap's primarily become what I drink now. So I have my water and then I go ahead and I drink a No Cap soda. And it's from having to go out because this is literally what I'm always drinking. So Nectar Clothing, those are the people that clothe me now. Davis Racewear, that's who sponsors me for BMX and for gear and things. But people don't realize those are all expenses that you now don't have to pay because they're helping float your way of life because of the fact that you read for them, you post for them, you tag them in your bio. Whatever the case is, whatever contracts that you decide to sign, they're on your own terms and you're the one that gets you to that point. No one's going to hold your hand and tell you, no, you got to post this and you got to do this and you got to do that. It just doesn't work that way. You have to be the one to go out and do it yourself. And that's the great thing with social media is no two accounts are ever going to look the exact same because something is always going to be done differently.
Yeah. No, that was amazing. And it's so, and the thing I really, really I would use the word admire with your content and the way how you kind of are building your personal brand and everything. Because I was scrolling through your YouTube and I came across you like one you post about BMX, which is obviously your passion. You talk about mental health. I've seen videos of that. I've seen you talk about negotiations, which is something me being an entrepreneur, being in the business world, you rarely come across content like that. And to me, it was just phenomenal how, like you said, how sponsorships really can play a significant part, during your journey and everything like that. And I just think it's really, really cool to see what it is you're doing. For anyone who is on the fence of doing social media on top of maybe being a professional athlete, like what advice would you tell them if they're hesitant to should I start social media, should I not? Because there's so much like I'm gonna say I don't want to use the word drama, but some people kind of have a negative uh, connotation behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they're totally right for that because we get exposed to a lot of the negative social media and a lot of the negative influence of it all, like I feel like every time you log onto social media, you see something about some random, I guess, influencer you would call it, doing something that's shady. So I totally see how they don't want to get like locked into that. But I don't know. I think obviously use your judgment. I'm not here to convince you one way or another, but it can change your life if you put in the hours to it. And something that I've always said is I never want to be stuck in working a typical 9 to 5. And even past working a 9 to 5, I never want to be stuck working towards someone else's dream. If I can have my own dream just like they have their own dream, why would I go ahead and waste my time and sacrifice what I'm doing to try and appease them and get them to where they want to go? I have a plan. I know where I want to go, and I know that I have the tools to do that. Social media is at your fingertips. If you have a product that you want to market, you can put it on social media. It has the potential to blow up if you want to make it blow up. If you want to go ahead and maybe you want to be a TikToker, maybe you want to do these crazy dances. If you post 20 times a day, throughout the day, I guarantee you one of those posts is going to blow up. It's just cracking the algorithm, and people who don't want to spend the time to crack the algorithm or spend the time to do the research, they're on their own. That's on them. But you have the choice to change that. So don't let these people be in your ear saying, well, I tried social media for a month and it didn't do anything for me. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes. It'll take just a month to set up your account to even be ready to post sometimes, depending what it is that you're doing. If you're trying to hit a certain audience, if you're trying to target a specific demographic, whatever your goal is with your social media, those are all things behind the scenes that you have to lay out and figure out what you're doing. If you have a content plan, if you're going to be consistent, but at the end of the day, you have to be the one to decide that. Don't let any other factors be in your ear. And if you want to have that freedom freedom and you want to have the ability to just create what you want to create, what makes you happy, and share your story and your life with people, you should be able to do that. And that doesn't mean that you have to put your entire life out there, like how a lot of people kind of advertise it as. It can be something as simple as just, oh no, this is what I'm doing today. And you don't have to show every single aspect of it. You can just incorporate your product in it because that's marketing. You can incorporate your message into it because that's marketing. You don't have to put everything out there though, just because you're starting a social media account. And I feel like that's something that has to kind of get told more and brought up more because people think that when they start doing social media, just they give up all of their privacy, and it shouldn't be like that ever.
Yeah. It's so, so true. There's so much that go on behind the scenes. So, so much behind the scenes. For someone who is navigating, this journey called life, right? What is a piece of advice you can give them like, in terms of how maybe because there's someone that kind had to incorporate, that kind of belief system or that kind of instill some kind of right guidance for you. How can someone find, say, like a right mentor or can help them navigate their journey? Like, what is something you can, like, if someone, how can you point someone in the right direction for someone maybe seeking a way to grow their audience or grow their personal brand?
I would say that this one comes up with finding someone who can definitely still be hard on you, but align with a lot of what you're saying. Because I found that a lot of the times when a mentor comes in that doesn't really align with you, just whether it's your personal beliefs, whether it's something that you do work-wise, when it's someone who you feel like you're constantly just butting heads with, it generally won't work because you feel like you're constantly having to be on the defense of whatever they're going to say when it shouldn't be like that. They're there to give you advice. So you need to find someone who's going to obviously align with what you're doing. And chances are one of your friends is going to be one of the best people to do that. I mean, obviously, you should surround yourself with good people because whoever you hang around with, you're likely to become. If you hang around five rich people, you'll become the sixth. Just like if you hang around five dummies, you're going to become the sixth. So it's all about who you surround yourself with. And if you have a good support system and a real friend, they're going to hold you accountable and tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong. You need to get on track. Or, hey, this is going really great right now. Good job. And they're going to give you that encouragement. And I would say while going through high school and things, I had a lot of people holding me accountable, not just because they were there for me to tell me, like, oh, yeah, you're doing good, but because we were around environments sometimes where you didn't want to end up like the people that you were around. And it was a motivation factor in that sense of you have all of this opportunity and you have all of these options and you're throwing all of them away, and that's your fault. And we don't want to be that. So knowing that too, I think definitely helps. So it's finding that balance, and it's definitely finding someone who you less of will look at like a life coach and a mentor, but more of like a friend and a connector and things like that, if that makes sense.
No, that's so, so true. Is, instead of like a mentor, kind of find like a friend or someone that can kind of support you behind what it is you're seeking. For when you talk about high school, to reflect on that a little bit, is in high school, were there ever moments like you were doing things beyond the norm, right? In my opinion, were there ever moments where maybe you were bullied or maybe someone kind of criticized what you were doing or maybe kind of try to fill your head with self-doubt, like, oh, you can't do that. Like, were there ever moments like that? And if there were, what helped you push through those moments?
I mean, people will always kind of be a little judgmental when they don't have it and they'll be jealous. And honestly, I didn't really get a lot of that. A lot of the people who I were around were very humble, and granted, they had really faced adversities in their own way. So a girl with a lot of followers or doing something wasn't really their top priority. So a lot of them were really supportive, but I would say like the ASB kids, like people who you would think should be like actual school supporters and things like that, they were so mean. I did not like them. There were some people that they were really cool, but other people you could just tell like for me, I'm big on like vibes. Like I'm big on if I don't get a good vibe from you, if you seem disingenuous, if you seem fake, if I see you physically act a certain way than what you're trying to portray, I don't want anything to do with that. And I think that they really didn't like that because obviously I know that I'm white, I have blue eyes, some people call this blonde hair when it's in summertime. I don't call that blonde hair. I won't identify as a blonde. But I mean, people thought that I would be fitting in with the preppy kids and these people who they had golf courses, they lived on wherever. They lived in like these nice clubhouses, things like that. And I really just wanted nothing to do with any of them. I just wasn't about it. I was more of I like to be around people who wanted to go to the skate park after school, who wanted to go and go to some crappy hole in the wall diner. We didn't have to go to some five-star place just because that's what all the hype was about. Like, I liked being around that type of demographic. Like, we used to go to this little pool hall in Ukaipa all the time where it was literally you would not catch any of those preppy kids dead in because it used to be like a biker pool hall. It had a whole history. But that's where we would spend all of our weekends. Like, it was just things like that where I was around a whole different crowd than what they had expected. And I don't think that a lot of people liked that. But it also got to the point in high school where I remember some random girl coming up to me saying, like, oh, give me a follow, give me a follow. And I was like, who are you? And luckily, my best friend in high school, she was very kind of like protective over me. So she would be like, she doesn't know you, like, just walk away. Like, don't make this weird. So she would definitely help out a lot and be there for me when things got weird like that. But I think overall, if you're doing something that makes you happy, then keep doing it. Like, I would be so embarrassed by the things that I would post in high school and the fact that people would literally see them because I would post during class because that's the time that worked best for me. So I would post at 11 o'clock in the middle of Gov and Econ. And I remember just feeling so embarrassed when I walked out during passing period, like, oh my gosh, I just posted this really corny caption or this corny video. Like, things like that. But at the end of the day, those are all stepping stones that got me to where I'm at now. So you can't really regret what you're doing, but you have to know that, okay, it's going to be embarrassing now, but it's going to pay off later. So I'm going to do it because that's what's best for me. At the end of the day, do what's best for you. Don't do what all these people are going to judge you on. Because I'm going to be so honest, I don't see anyone from high school anymore. I see two girls who work at the Chocolate Tea Bar, which I love. Those are my girls. And then other than that, I see my best friend and her boyfriend, and that's it from high school.
Yeah.
Everyone else I don't see. It's high school is just it's a small part of your life and people think that, oh no, these are going to be my best friends till I die and I'm going to talk to everyone. We're going to see each other every day. That's not real. After we graduated, I saw my whole group two times, and then that was it. I never saw anyone again while we were all together. We were never all in the same room again. And we were inseparable throughout high school. Like, we literally would do everything together. If we were ditching a class, which I don't condone, we would all ditch together. If we were all going out to study, because that's something academic and honorable, we would all go out to study. So there were just things like that where you were always together. You're always with your group. That's normal. It's high school. But you have to grow up at some point, and at some point you just kind of have to say you wish them well, and that's it. Some people are going to stay where they're at and other people are going to want to grow, and you need to be part of the group of people that grow.
Yeah. You seem like you are a very resilient individual, like since you've been young, since birth, it seems. Where do you think that resiliency comes from? Is it?
I think that I had to grow up a little bit faster than like the normal kid. My idol who I like loved and adored and looked up to for the longest time, up until he had passed away, was my papa. And so that was like my best friend. Like I loved hanging out with him. I loved being with him, all of that. So I would say that when he passed away, that was something that I had to deal with head on, and I was like 8 years old, which is something, or I was probably even younger than that. Let me do math. I was like 7 or 8. So I would say that having to deal with that and having to lose like your best friend that young definitely sucks, and it's not something that I would wish on anyone ever. And having been the only kid in the group, I never had like younger kids to hang out with. So by the time that kids were starting to get popped out, I was already 9 or 10. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, just kind of watch them, things like that. Or I'd go and hang out with the adults and kick it with them. So you definitely learn to grow up. I had to move schools when I was in second grade. So then you kind of switch up, go to a whole different group of friends and deal with that a couple times. There's been a lot of controversial things that have gone on throughout my timeline too, with just everything. Because, I mean, you have all of these different movements taking place and being on social media. The minute that you don't post if you're swaying one way or another, I feel like you just get attacked for it and you get torn down for it. So, I mean, that's something that you deal with. But aside from those, just social media in general, you get hate, you get negative comments. And so it's learning to deal with those things and cope with them and go through it. But BMX also teaches you how to just be on your own and learn how to kind of figure things out for yourself because your parents who have never ridden BMX before, they're not going to be able to tell you what to do. So you have to be okay with leaving your comfort zone to go talk to these random people. Like, yeah, there's these 45-year-old men's over there that are ripping it. Let me and just this little 13-year-old girl walk over. Hey guys, how do you do that? Can I follow you?
Yeah.
So things like that definitely just change it up for you and they expose you to a different type of life. Like even going to the skate park taught me a lot of life lessons that I would have never thought that I would have learned. Like having to ride from my house to the skate park, not because I had to, because I had a car, but because I wanted to, because that's what I thought was fun. Because at the time, none of my other friends had cars, and I didn't want to feel like I was like bougie or above them or anything like that. So I wouldn't take my car. I would just go ride my bike to the skate park, and we would spend the whole day there, and then we would have to trek up this stupid hill just to get back to our houses so that we could go and do whatever else that we were doing. So things like that, it just, I don't know. I think that it just kind of teaches you different lessons. And obviously, being around the skate park, just there's people that come and go, there's people that pass away while you're still there, and things like that that just kind of stick with you and they resonate with you and they teach you. There's life lessons to be taught at skate parks. And I think that that is a huge reason why I am the way I am, just from a couple summers having to be at the skate park and even working with my dad in the shop because he's a metal worker, woodworker, all of that. It would be 110 degrees out and we're in this concrete shop just working away
Wow.
because I had nowhere else to go. So I would go and be in the shop with him and you learn stuff. It's all about where you at and who you surround yourself with. And that definitely has made me the person that I am.
Yeah. Who's a mentor? Who's someone that you really, really look up to? I know you
Um,
mentioned your grandpa, but like who's someone that you really look up to, or like you don't want to be them, but you want to like be you seek inspiration from them.
hmm. That one's hard. I honestly like this is gonna sound super like cheesy. I don't really have like mentors. Like there's nobody that I really try and like I don't know, admire or like idolize in a way or even like aspire to be like. Because I feel like I said before, I think everyone has a certain part of them that they don't really show on social media or they don't show to others. And so the last thing that I would want is for someone who I really idolize and look up to for something like to come out on them, you know? So even if I think that they're a great writer or anything like that, like that's cool. Like there's qualities that I look for in everyone that I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's really cool. Like the human mosaic thing is my favorite thing, where you're a collection of all the people that you have met. I try to look for something in every single person that I can resonate with, that I can relate to, or something that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really do not like that. Like I do not want to see you again. So there's things like that that I just try to look for and I try to be mindful of. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I really look up to anyone or try to aspire to be anyone like that, just because they're them and I'm me and I want to be the first me. So I want to be the best me and just kind of keep the momentum rolling on that. And I think that aspiring and focusing on being someone else just wouldn't, I think it would do more harm than good for me. So that's something I've always tried to do is just not compare, not try to be anyone, things like that.
I love it. I love it. You seem incredibly humbled. Wait, you said what was the word you said? Human something, but it's like your connection to everyone you met. What was the word for that?
Oh, human mosaic.
Human mosaic.
Mosaic.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I am a firm believer as well, like what you just said, that you are like we are all connected to some extent, you know.
And you're a compilation of everyone that you've met. Like there's a lot of things that I love. Like I love plants because my mom loves plants, and so we always grew up having plants around. I love the color blue because I'm pretty sure that I saw it in a store one time and I was like, oh my God, that's my color. Or like it was a crayon. No, it was a crayon. That's what it was. It was a crayon that my best friend had handed me in like kindergarten and it was that turquoise, like indigo blue color. And the Crayola, like the big Crayolas that they give you because you got little hands, like you don't have really good coordination yet. So just there's things like that that just they compile and certain movies that I really like have been because been shown them by someone else. Sayings that I have, how I wear my hair, how I dress, things like that are all because of other people that I met. So it makes you an individual because not everyone else is going to have that same compilation. But I think it just kind of changes the way that you look at things and how you treat life.
Yeah, that is so cool. I gotta look that up. I never heard of that before. Now
Yeah, it's
we're
one
getting
of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite things.
That's really, really cool. I definitely have to look it up. Now we're getting to the end of the episode here. Is what is a question you wish more people asked you, but they don't?
Ah, that one's hard. I
Yeah.
can't think of one for that still. I got asked that on the last podcast I was on too, and I was like, I don't know. Um, yeah, honestly,
It's one of my favorite question. It's one of my favorite questions. When I started doing this, it's like that's how I like to end my episodes. Because it's thought provoking, you know?
yeah, it definitely is. It's something that I've never really like every time that I'm like, no, I'm gonna come up with an answer for the next one. I never do. I think maybe oh, yeah, I guess this is a good one. How to know when it's your time to walk away from something that you love, whether it's a sport, whether it's a person, a training, whatever it is, an event, anything like that. How to know when it's time to walk away and kind of call it.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
When
I
to walk
mean,
away.
yeah.
I like it. For someone who is navigating the BMX journey, or yeah, let's talk about BMX. For someone navigating a BMX journey and they're a girl and maybe they want to get into it as well, what is a key advice you could give them for them?
Just show up. Don't think about it. Don't second guess it. Don't try to talk yourself out of it. Just show up. Because when you get there, I promise you, some of my best friends throughout the year have been guys that I've met through BMX because they take you in and they'll be like a brother to you. They're going to watch out for you. They're going to make sure that you're taken care of. They're going to make sure that you're good to go. And the other girls there too, they're going to take you under your wing like that. Every single girl that I've ever seen shown up to a BMX track who is just starting, I remember instantly coming up and being like, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Like, is it your first time? I don't recognize you. Like, what's going on?" And doing laps with them and riding with them throughout the night and just making sure that they felt comfortable, felt like they were at home, and then introducing them to the other like younger kids or kids their age. If they were my age, then it would be like, "Oh yeah, just come hang out with me and my friends for the night. Like, it's fun. It's chill." It doesn't matter if it's your first time riding a bike, it doesn't matter if it's your first time even going to a track, if it's your first time riding that bike specifically, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, everyone is literally just there to have fun and to hang out with people, and that's all it is. It's just to hang out. So show up, have fun with it, and if you want to end up competing, then you can end up competing if you want, but don't feel like that's instantly what it has to go to just because you're showing up to go ride your bike.
Yeah. That was perfect. That was some really, really great, solid advice. Now we're getting into the rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So a song that instantly gets you hyped before writing.
Oh, Homecoming by Kanye West. That song is fire.
One word your friends would use to describe you off the bike.
Off the bike, loud.
Funny, excuse me, funniest DM or comment you have ever received after posting on social media.
Oh, that one's hard. I've gotten a lot of ones like asking me to like be their sugar baby.
Okay.
Yeah, that those are probably the funniest ones because you can tell that they're bots, but just the way that they word it is so just bot related. It's really funny. I would say that one though.
A moment that reminded you why you started writing.
There was a girl from out of state that had came in and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Kylie Martin." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she almost started crying because she was like, "I
Mhm.
wanted to see you for so long." And she lost it. And it was one of the times I wanted to quit. And I ended up giving her a pair of goggles, a pair of gloves, and just straight off of me, just because I was like, "Yeah, this is yours. Like, here you go." So I think that that was definitely a really humbling moment, just seeing someone freak out over me like I don't even know who I'd freak out over like that, but just something like that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I've really impacted this person. It was crazy.
Yeah. That is so, so cool. I think it's really, really cool to like be in the social media industry or field and then to have people recognize you like that. It's really, really cool. And like what kind of impact you can have behind them. Someone who believed in you before you believed in yourself.
My parents,
What keeps you going on hard days?
knowing that there's more work to be done and that the work's meant for me and that God has a plan for me.
I love it. one lesson BMX has taught you about life.
There's gonna be really hard points, but you got to be able to get through them, and you're gonna grow from it at the end of the day. And even if you feel like you can't do something, eventually you will be able to. So just keep pushing and stay determined.
Yeah, so true. Now, where can people find you? Like, tell people about anything you're working on, how people can find you, anything and everything you would like the audience to know.
So I just hosted a write out March 14th. It was super cool. It's the first write out I ever hosted. It was a really great turnout. It was obviously super fun. We met a lot of different people. So that was really cool. It was cool to see everyone pop out from social media and things like that who had never even been on a bike before just to come and see it. So that was really awesome. But I plan on hosting more events like that in the future. Obviously, I'm constantly posting to my YouTube, my TikTok, my Instagram. All of those are Kylie, spelled Kylie underscore monster underscore BMX. It's going to be on all platforms like that. But yeah, usually I'm just trying to kind of figure out a little bit more things. I'm in LA a lot for some modeling events, and I'm obviously trying to do a little bit more like live stream work where I can answer questions live and I can talk with you guys live. So yeah, like I said, just follow me on any of those platforms and we'll be able to get in touch.
Yeah, perfect. And also Kylie's socials and anything she wants me to plug in within the description will also be within the description as well. For the audience listening, when did you feel less alone while tuning into today's episode? This has become the Victor, where we turn trials into triumph. I'm your host, Victor. Again, we have Kylie Martin joining us today. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And as always, remember, grow through what you go through. Much